Hey guys, welcome to the video where I'm going to show you how to make a password protected door using cv2 and Rec Room. Let's get into it. Okay, so to start building the door, you want to start by grabbing your makeup pen. In order to grab the makeup pen, you want to go into your watch, click backpack, and click use on your makeup pen. You can also enable the favorite option, which allows to grab your other makeup pen from your bag. Once you got your pen, now let's build the door. For the purpose of the video, we're going to use a very simple door design, but you can of course make it as beautiful as you want. We're just going to use a cube, and we're going to spawn this all the way like this. That's the first side of our door. We're going to use a two-sided door with one side opening to the right and one side opening to the left. To get a copy of your right side of your door, you want to go over to the pen, go to tools, and go to clone. You want to click on one side of the door and then copy to the left. We now have two sides of our door. Now we're going to add a button. We're going to go over to our palette and we're going to go into the search option. Into the search bar, we want to type button. There it is. Now with your makeup pen, spawn a button. The next thing we're going to need is a piston. So go back into the search bar and type piston. Click on the piston and place it near the door. Since we got two doors, we're going to need two pistons. But first, I'm going to change the settings. So we have two blue inputs. One stands for the speed in which the piston is going to move the door. The second one is the max distance. This is the max distance that the piston can travel. We are going to change this max distance from 5 to 1. I'm going to leave the speed at 1, but you can always change it. Now, I'm going to move this piston and rotate it like that, because we want the door to go that way, and we do not want it to go up. Now I would need a second piston, so I go back to my clone tool, and I clone it down. I'm going to the rotate tool, and I rotate that the other way. We now have one piston facing to the right for the right door, and one piston going to the left for the left door. Okay, since we're going to make a password protected door, I'm going to show you how to make the password part with circuits. Okay, in order to do that, you're going to go over to your search bar and we are going to type in the prompt to local player chip. So type in prompt and there it is, prompt to local player. Spawn this next to your button. I'll show what it does. Go over to the tools and go to connect. Now connect the pressed output from the button into the input of the prompt local player chip. Just like that. Okay, now let's see what it does when I click the button. You get a notification on your watch, says prompt, and it has a little text tab. This is the place where you're going to type in your password. When I type in a password, for example 556, and click OK, if I now go over and check the response, it says 556. What we're now going to do is we're going to go over to our palette, back to the search option, and we're going to be looking for the equals chip. So type in equals and spawn a chip. What we're also going to need is the if chip. So type in if, there we go, and spawn the chip. Okay, now let's go over to our connect tool. We can connect the response into our equals chip. The response sends out the string that was inputted by the player that pressed the button. The equals chip then checks both of these inputs and tells us if it's true or false that these are equal. As you can see now, B means nothing and A means 556. This means equals is false. So now let's go over to configure and set ourselves a password. I will have the password set to 1234. You can also include letters, special symbols, basically everything. If I now go over to the button and I type in 1234, 1234, and click OK, we can see this says true because A equals B. What we want to do is we want to connect the complete of this chip into the if chip, and we want to connect the equals output into the condition of the is chip. If the password equals what they input, it will send out the then. If it's wrong, it will send out the else. What we're now going to do is we are going to add a sound effect when it goes into the else. So in order to do that, we're going to go over to the palette and we're going to type in SFX. You want to go click on it and spawn it. Want to go over to the connect tool and wire the else into the play of the sound effect. We can go over to configure in order to pick a sound. You want to make sure that you have synced set to off. If you do not have this, that means everyone can hear the sound when you type in a wrong password. If we go over to sounds, we can pick one and let's go with buzzer. Okay, so now let's type in a wrong password and see if it works. And there we go, the buzzer works. Now let's wire up the den of the chip into the pistons so that's actually going to open the door. Go over to connect tool and connect the den all the way over to the play of the piston. Now connect the play output of your first piston to the play input of your second piston. You also want to make sure you have the piston connected to the door. To do that, you want to go onto this bar and hold your trigger and let go when it's on the door. We want to connect the right door to the right piston and the left piston to the left door. Once we got that, let's see if it works. So we're going to go over to the button and we are going to type in our password 1234. Okay, and there we go. The doors have opened. We now want to make sure they're also able to close the doors. We can do this in two ways. I'll show you both ways. First method could be is that we clone our button. We want to rotate the button and put it on the inside of the door. So let's just move it over here. And what we want to do is we want to wire up the press of this button to the reverse into our piston. And then wire up the second reverse to our other piston. What this now does is when we press this button, it closes the door. So the people inside will be able to close the door without saying the password. Let me now show you the second way. I will delete this. And what we're now going to do is that the doors automatically close after a period of time. For this, we will need a delay chip. So we'll go over to our palette and we'll type it in delay. Let's spawn our delay chip. And now let's go to our den. We now got this connected into the piston. But we're going to let this go through the delay chip for now. We want to have the run output into our input of the piston. Now we want to have the after delay into the reverse of the piston. With your configure tool, you can go onto the delay and we can type the delay that we want. I'm going to type in 3 seconds. So now let's try it. I'm going to click on the button. I'm going to type in the correct password. The door opens. We can walk through. And after 3 seconds, the door closes. And there you go. We now have a working door. Since we added a sound effect when you enter a wrong password, we will also add a sound effect when you enter the correct password. To do this, we're going to go over to our clone tool and we're just going to clone the SFX that we had from the wrong. And we're going to clone it over here. Again, we want to unwire the den. And we want it to go through the SFX and then back into the run delay. With the configure tool, we can configure the sound. And we're going to change this from buzzer to, let's see, Let's change it to ding. Yep, that's a good one. Okay, so once we now press the button, go over to our watch, and we type in the correct password, it will open the door with a sound effect. It will close the door after 3 seconds, and that's all you need. In order to change the password, all you have to do is go back to your configure tool and then change this text to whatever you want. What we could also do is we could add a prompt title to our prompt local chip. We would have to click on this one, and instead of prompt, we're going to call this type the password. So once we now click on the button, it will say type the password. That's all you need to know for today. This is how you make a door opening with a password with cv2. So now you know how to make a password protected door in Rec Room. If you found the video helpful, make sure to give me a like and a subscribe, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.